Hello. Thank you so much, Chair Simpson, Ranking Member Pingree, distinguished members of the committee, and to the staff who put this all together and got us all here. We're so appreciative of all the work that you're doing. I want to share a story with you. Several months ago, I had a knock on my door at my office as the Executive Vice President of Seattle Indian Health Board. I'm a citizen of the Pawnee Nation of Oklahoma, and I'm blessed to work in an urban Indian health program funded by the Indian Health Service, in addition to the director of the Urban Indian Health Institute, one of the nation's 12 Tribal Epidemiology Centers, but with a focus on urban Indians. That knock on my door, when I opened it, I saw a member of my staff looking very distressed. She let me know, she said, "Abigail, we have a situation. Our elders program, which is one that I oversee," she said, "there is an elder who just let us know that she has recently been raped. And her perpetrator is in the building, in the program with us right now." My team sprung into action. We ensured that this woman, 80 years old, in a wheelchair, we ensured that when she asked for new clothes, that we went and sorted through sweatpants, and at the time, because of a lack of funding, we only had size 5X for a small, dainty little elder. I remember pulling the string of those 5X sweatpants to make sure when we brought them to her, we could slide them up her legs and tie them tightly around her waist so after a rape, she could wear clean clothes. We brought her into a room where I called our clinical social worker, our traditional Indian medicine practitioner, and our elders. Our community came together as fully well-trained staff focused on the cultural needs of this individual and the medical needs of this individual. As she sat there and I held her hands and the tears ran down her face, creasing through the wrinkles, she told me, she said, "Abigail, I don't want to make trouble, but I don't want anybody else to get hurt." She allowed me to call 911. I called 911 and I left her with my capable staff trained by our programs that we self-fund because with the workforce shortages in Indian Health Service and the lack of workforce development funding, we invest more than $500,000 of our own dollars to ensure my staff could respond in a moment like this. In that moment when I called 911 and I said, "Hey, I have a rape victim here. She's 80 years old. She's in a wheelchair. She is receiving hospice care. She has been raped and her perpetrator is in the building." I hung up. I expected a police response. I waited 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour and 15 minutes with no response from the police. The response that was happening was in that room with those culturally attuned care providers, the facility that we have worked so hard to build up to ensure those services exist. And without them, this woman would have never seen any kind of love, compassion, and she's never going to see justice. When they finally showed up, I'll leave that to the side because that's not what matters. It's 4 hours later, we put her in a taxi cab with all of the resources that she needs, and we continue to follow up. The work of urban Indian health programs, Indian Health Service, is this: that $73 billion is investments in ensuring the care, the health, and the well-being. And I don't care if you're 80 years old or 8 minutes old. We provide that care and all in between. And without the full funding of the Indian Health Service, you're going to see providers like myself, other people, taking 5X sweatpants and attempting to pull the string so we can just fit them up the legs of a rape victim. That is something that shouldn't be happening and yet happens too often. Our Tribal Epidemiology Centers, which I am blessed to direct, we have led in working and ensuring that we get the resources for our missing and murdered, those who have been sexually assaulted. And over the last several years, I've sat in front of you and I feel like I tell you the same stories, all in the same line. And in fact, last year I told you the story of a dementia survivor who had been beaten and strangled so many times that she was suffering memory loss in her early 30s. And we couldn't give her resources or services because our dementia funds, those funds from IHS, are only for people over the age of 50. And so we looked, we searched, I connected after I spoke with all of you, and we couldn't get the resources or help, so we're doing it ourselves. We have launched the very first survey to find out the incidence of traumatic brain injury for sexual assault, domestic violence, and trafficking survivors, and there is no money for it. And in fact, I'm partnering with local Native Hawaiians in Hawaii because they have the same issues. And I was sitting with a mother of a young woman who had been brutally murdered in the military. Her husband was active duty military in Oahu. She was 19 years old, Native Hawaiian in Blackfeet. He murdered her, dismembered her, and then burnt her. And when he was prosecuted, and this is what Auntie Frances, she wanted me to share this with you all, and I'll end with this. She told me, she was grasping onto my arm, and she said, "Abigail, when you go to Congress next time, tell them there has to be accountability. Tell them to care as much as I did for my daughter who laughed so much, who was so loved. Tell them that there has been change, but we need more. And the full funding of the Indian Health is essential to that at the full $73 billion, and ensuring that the Tribal Epidemiology Centers and the work that my team and I, in addition to the other epicenters do, are essential to the health and well-being of our communities. That woman, as she held my hand with the tears streaking down her face, Auntie Frances, and the story I told you in the beginning of the rape victim, they said the same thing. I'm only doing this and I'm only sharing my story so no one else has to. Thank you.